Welcome back to this regular meeting of Smiths Falls Town Council for Monday, January 24th. I'll start the meeting with reading our land acknowledgement. On January 24th, 2022, we acknowledge that the sacred land in which Smiths Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for their land and water in order that we might meet here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in making the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smiths Falls. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawn on our strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. I have no announcements this evening. I'll ask for disclosure of monetary interest. I see none. We have no delegations. We have no adoption of minutes. Any reports this evening? I don't see any hands up. We'll move right to our bylaws with Councillor McKenna.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brennan. That a bylaw to adopt estimates of the sums required for municipal purposes for the year 2022 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10298-2022.
Thank you. Discussion, Councillor McKenna?
Yes, in the last we've been through the budget process for a few months now, and the most recent discussion at the Committee of the Whole, Treasurer Kozil and staff presented an option of that pointed to, because of surplus last year and growth in our wonderful community, that we one of the options that Council considered was a 0% tax rate increase and a 2% water and a 2% wastewater rate increase. Council, I think, we're tickled to support that recommendation from staff. Council went further and thanked staff for their work in acquiring grants for good fiscal management on their behalf, and thank all of the citizens of Smiths Falls for investing in our town and growing. And that has led to this bit of good news and perhaps a little relief in 2022.
Thank you. Any further comments? Yes, Councillor Brennan?
Yeah, as tradition would have it, on third reading of the budget, we should have a recorded vote, I think.
I wouldn't, I would not have missed it, but not expected it, I should say. Okay, I'll go to the third reading, and Deputy Clerk Bennett will take over the reading. Call the vote. Moved by Councillor McKenna, seconded by Councillor Brennan, that a bylaw to adopt estimates of sums required for municipal purposes for the year 2022 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10298-2022, and a recorded vote has been requested.
With respect to bylaw 10298-2022, please state yay or nay. Councillor Alford?
Yay.
Councillor Allen?
Yay.
Councillor Brennan?
Yay.
Councillor Dwyer?
Yay.
Councillor McGuire?
Yay.
Councillor McKenna?
Yay.
Mayor Panko?
Yay.
This bylaw is carried.
Okay, thank you. On to 7.2, Councillor Alford.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McKenna, that a bylaw to amend bylaw 8712-2014, being a bylaw to establish and regulate the maintenance, operations, and management of the water system, and to establish the rates and other service charges for use of the system, be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10300-2022.
Thank you. Discussion, please.
I won't repeat what Councillor McKenna has said. I will add to it by saying that this allows for 2% on water and 2% on wastewater, as both of those are subsidized by property tax revenue. This decreases the need to transfer about $125,000 from the tax revenue to subsidize the water wastewater and bring Smith Falls a bit closer to the goal of full cost recovery for both.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Brennan.
Oops.
Oh, now you're muted.
Hit the wrong button. Yeah, I think we should have a recorded vote as well. It's a cost to the taxpayer, so we should vote on it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McGuire.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'm going to vote against this. I believe that it should be increased at the rate of inflation because it's exposed to inflation more than other things, because the inputs to the water treatment plant are a bigger proportion than labor than we have across the municipality. And I think that we agreed to a plan that we said we were going to get cost recovery from our water treatment services and our water distribution system, and we're not there yet. We're still at a $500,000 deficit. So for the sake of $20, give or take, in a bill, I would have rather seen this go to inflation for this year.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay, it's moved by Councillor Alford, second by Councillor McKenna, that a bylaw to amend bylaw 8712-2014, being a bylaw to establish and regulate the maintenance, operations, and management of water system, and to establish the rates and other service charges for the use of the system. Be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10300-2022, and a recorded vote has been requested.
With respect to bylaw 10300-2022, please state yay or nay. Councillor Alford,
Yay.
Councillor Allen,
Yay.
Councillor Brennan,
Yay.
Councillor Dwyer,
Yay.
Councillor McGuire,
Nay.
Councillor McKenna,
Yay.
Mayor Panko.
Yay.
This bylaw is carried.
Thank you. 7.3, Councillor Brennan.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Allen, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a multi-party recreational cost sharing agreement be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Allen, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a multi-party recreation cost sharing agreement be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? That's carried. Discussion, Councillor Brennan?
Well, we just discussed this, and I want to congratulate yourself and CO Morris for talking to our neighbors, and I want to thank our neighbors for recognizing the use of our facility, and this is contributing to the operation of the facility, not what would cost to build it. So just to make that clear, but we're working well with our neighbors, and thank you for getting this agreement done, and thank you to our neighbors for participating.
Thank you. Any further discussion? We have a third reading, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Allen, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a multi-party recreation cost sharing agreement be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10302-2022.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Allen, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a multi-party recreation cost sharing agreement be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10302-2022. All in favor? That's carried. And thank you. And Councillor McGuire, you have your next bylaw.
Your Worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Allen, that a bylaw to authorize a fire dispatching agreement with the municipality of Wharncliffe be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McGuire, second by Councillor Allen, the bylaw to authorize a fire dispatching agreement with the municipality of Wharncliffe be received, read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor McGuire?
The municipality of Wharncliffe is about an hour and a half east of Sault Ste. Marie. It's going to be a 5-year agreement that starts at $750 and increases at the CPI for the 5-year duration. It includes 5 calls, and then additional calls will be charged at $300 per call.
Thank you. Any further discussion? We have a third reading, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Allen that a bylaw to authorize a fire dispatching agreement with the municipality of Warncliffe be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10303-2022.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McGuire, seconded by Councillor Allen, that a bylaw to authorize a fire dispatching agreement with the municipality of Warncliffe be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10303-2022. All in favor? And that's carried. That's it for our bylaws. We have one motion with Councillor McKenna, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brennan. Whereas the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, produced a discussion paper in 2019 entitled Towards a Reasonable Balance, addressing growing municipal liability and insurance costs. And whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls support the recommendations to align municipal liability with the proportionate responsibility for incidents and capping awards. And further, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls calls on the Attorney General of Ontario to work with municipal governments to develop a plan of action to address joint and several liability before the end of the government's current term, so that municipalities can control costs while continuing to offer high quality services.
Discussion, Councillor McKenna?
Yes, at the previous COW meeting, CO Morris really explained it in a nutshell, is that any municipality, if we're named in a particular lawsuit, no matter if our responsibility is 1% of the, or we share 1% or 2% of the negligent part of that, because it's perceived that municipalities have deep pockets, that the awards could be much greater than they aren't aligned with the rate of what our actual contribution to the negligence. So this is really asking the government to find a way forward to, as the title of it is, finding a reasonable balance. Municipalities will always pay our share, but we want fairness. And this is a long-standing issue that we do hope that Premier Ford can address before June.
Thank you. Any further discussion? It's moved by Councillor McKenna, second by Councillor Brennan. Whereas the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, in brackets AMO, produced a discussion paper in 2019 entitled Towards a Reasonable Balance, addressing growing municipal liability and insurance costs. Whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls supports the recommendations to align municipal liability with a proportionate responsibility for incidents and capping awards. And further, the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls calls on the Attorney General of Ontario to work with municipal governments to develop a plan of action to address joint and several liability before the end of the government's current term, so that municipalities can control costs while continuing to offer high quality services. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Any inquiries or announcements this evening? I don't see any. Councillor Dwyer, you have a motion for adjournment.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brennan that the council adjourn its proceedings at 6:15 p.m. and stand so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Dwyer, second by Councillor Brennan. This council adjourns proceedings at 6:15 p.m. and stands so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council. All in favor? We stand adjourned, and that there's no meeting next week. We will see everyone 2 weeks from now.
Good evening.
Have a good night, everyone.